Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Season 4 premiere of Kicking It Classic with JCD. I am your host, John JCD DeMaselli, and you can check out Kicking It Classic with JCD on Twitter at KITCWJCD. You can follow me on Twitter at JCDSINY1219. You could follow the show on Facebook, facebook.com/kickingitclassic with JCD, and you can email the show kickingitclassicwithjcd@yahoo.com. In what has been a repeated theme, unfortunately, this year, I appreciate everybody's patience with the delay in our fourth season. Unfortunately, my children and my wife all contracted COVID, and it was just getting them through it. Thank God everybody's fine at this point, but it was just, again, a year that seems to have just spiraled out of control into the depths of hell. Just isn't getting any better. Hopefully the second, third, and fourth quarters of the year will. So again, I apologize for the delay in the show, but of course, I'm sure as all of you who actually listen will understand, family comes first. So with that said, in our first episode for the new season, we're going to look at the well-known situation involving 2005 Matt Hardy-Lita, and Edge. Now, everyone knows the basics, but there are a lot of little things about this story and the fallout of the story that maybe slip through the cracks and people forget. And that's what we're going to look at. We're not going to look at, okay, we all know the basics. Edge cheated on his wife with Lita. Lita cheated on Matt Hardy with Edge. We all know about the infamous Bite This episode on WWE.com when Lita was the guest and Matt from North Carolina called in, and Lita basically had to tell Matt, I stopped loving you. I didn't love you anymore, and I fell in love with somebody else, which for somebody who thinks at times Matt Hardy can't separate kayfabe and reality, to hear Matt Hardy be told that she didn't love him anymore was one of the greatest things I've ever seen at the time. Because if anyone deserves an ego check, it's him. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to point out that we have changed the theme song for the fourth season of Kicking Classic with JCD. We went 3 seasons with the original WCW worldwide theme. And now we are going with the original 1991 to I think the end Clash of Champions theme. I'll probably give it 2 or 3 seasons with this theme and then mix it up from there. But with that said, let's begin Matt Hardy, Lita, and Edge, and the fallout. So everyone knows the story by now, obviously, all these years later, that, Matt Hardy and Lita were in a very serious, very committed long-term relationship. Hardy got injured in the summer, fall, around that area of 2004. Had a knee injury that required surgery and was off the road. At that time, Edge and Lita, who were both on Raw, were obviously close because of just the general history between the Hardys, Edge and Christian. Even, the Dudleys to a degree, even though the Dudleys weren't around much after 2005, but they were all close, they were all bonded, and I'm sure Matt Hardy would think of anyone to watch over Lita, Edge is the perfect guy. Don't blame him at all. Can't at all. It's a call any of us would make. We all know the story. Comes out that Matt starts posting stuff, and let's give Matt Hardy credit for something. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not the biggest Matt Hardy fan, in the sense of I think Matt Hardy struggles with reality, working, kayfabe, his characters at times. I think Matt Hardy is guilty at times of getting lost in everything. So Hardy turns around and starts out of nowhere. I want to say it was a Friday night. And he starts posting all this stuff about, relationships and trust and all that. And even in 2005, where there wasn't really Twitter and people weren't really doing their own thing, to his credit, Hardy was one of the guys that was doing his own thing on the internet. Won't call it social media because it wasn't that, but he was doing the internet. And all of a sudden, you didn't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out what was going on and who Matt was talking about. So it comes out that Lita cheated on Matt with Edge. And man, the shit hits the fan quick. The next show after this comes out was a Raw and SmackDown taping at Madison Square Garden in mid to late April, maybe the second or third week of April. I was there. It's the show where Hulk Hogan shows up and helps Shawn Michaels with Muhammad Hassan. And Edge faces Chris Benoit in the open of Raw. And, I mean, the heat for Edge was nuclear. Then at some point later on at some point, I believe during the match, Lita comes out. And, man, take the biggest heel of all time. Take Roman Reigns heat. Take John Cena heat. Take X-Pac heat. You name it, Lita blew it away. And I mean, it was boos, it was heat, and there were even "you screwed Matt" chants. But they totally blew it off. You know, they weren't going to address it, they weren't going to do anything with it, but WWE, to their credit, took notice of it. What happens after the fact? Hardy is released. No, I'm sorry, I'm skipping a step. We all know about the infamous Bite This episode where Lita, and I gotta admit, as somebody who isn't the biggest Matt Hardy fan, this is fantastic, when Lita pretty much kills Matt Hardy in the sense of, and pretty much just tells him, I don't love you anymore. Sorry, I fell in love with somebody else. And man, you know, to hear Hardy humbled on Bite This, because he tried to be slick. He tried to call in as like Matthew from North Carolina. Bite This used to be a call-in internet show that WWE had on the website, and he tried to be slick. He tried to call in as Matthew from North Carolina. They picked up right on it. You even see it, like Lita's like, oh, God. And, she pretty much tells him, I just stopped. I didn't love you anymore. I fell in love with somebody else. Deal with it. And you can hear the air come out of Matt Hardy, and so that happens. Then shortly after that, Matt's released. Now, here's something that people forget or doesn't get talked about that often is Matt Hardy, again, to his credit, because again, like I said, I'm not the biggest Matt Hardy guy, but God damn it, this was freaking genius. Starts on his website and posting these videos, 90 days, 90 days, 90 days, 90 days. And it turned out, I think his 90th day was on a Friday. TNA had a pay-per-view that Sunday. And I mean, the word was Hardy was going to show up in TNA. I think Jeff Jarrett was going to face a mystery opponent for the world title. Or something. Or someone was going to be in Jarrett's corner. I forget the exact details of it. And I mean, Hardy was, tick-tocking down the internet. The dirt sheets were all, Hardy's definitely showing up at TNA. So Jarrett opens up the TNA pay-per-view with a promo, and he keeps saying, is he here? Is he here? And of course, people are going nuts, and they say, yeah, he's here. And I mean, people are going nuts in the old Impact Zone. That actually ends up being Rhino, which is like, okay, TNA tapes TV, post pay-per-view. Maybe they'll debut Hardy on TV. Well, the problem is, there was Raw the next night in the Meadowlands. And I want to say the date was July. It was either July 9th or July 11th, 2005. And Edge has a match and they do the normal, pre-cut to the commercial, Edge walking to the ring with Lita, and somebody beats the piss out of Edge backstage while he's walking. You can't really see, and then all of a sudden Lita yells, "Stop! Stop! What are you doing? What are you doing?" And it's Matt. I was like, holy shit. And then they cut to a commercial right away. I mean, WWE, to their credit, did everything in their power to try to really build this as a happening. And, okay, you've got, wait, what is going on? Okay, what the hell is going on? Did Matt just show up on Raw? Because there was no commentary to it. So it was like, wait a minute, what's going on? He was TNA bound. Edge goes to the ring for his match, and through the crowd, here comes Hardy. And he gets into the ring, and, he is having a fist fight with Edge. Fist fight. And then they do the thing where Hardy's handcuffed, but he grabs the mic, and here's where, to his credit, he was probably just so amped up, and if he could have gone back to do it again, he probably would have done it the right way. He calls Edge Adam, like, Adam, you swine. But instead of calling Lita Amy, he calls her Lita. He calls her a slut or you bitch or something. And that right there, to anybody with half a clue about anything, pretty much showed that, okay, Hardy's back. He even cuts a promo, oh, come watch me wrestle at Ring of Honor. I think he mentions TNA. I think he does. I got to post it after we post the episode. I'll post the clip. And he's cutting this promo, oh, I'll be here this weekend. I'll be at Ring of Honor, this and that. And to his credit, Hardy popped up at some indie shows along the way. He did this for a couple of weeks, these mystery attacks on Edge, but it was clear. If WWE was showing, and they were trying their best, oh, we're going to cut away this and that, whatever. But it was obvious what was going on. But, I've never been able to find, and I got to see if I could find it somewhere, when the actual deal for Hardy to return to the company actually took place. Because, that's key. Like, Hardy, like I said, to his credit, was working everybody about that 90 days. I think he's the one that really brought this into the fold, that, once you get released from WWE, you got to wait 90 days. And, so Hardy's doing this. So they do this segment with Vince McMahon. And I got to be honest with you, I really think a lot of people have killed this and have kind of pointed at this as, this is where Hardy lost everything. I don't think it did, because it actually probably helped, because, if Vince was getting attached to it, it meant something to the company. Vince isn't just going to turn around and get attached to anything. So Vince formally brings Hardy back. This was also at a time when Brock Lesnar was heavily rumored to be returning to the company. In fact, WWE.com even had pictures of Lesnar at Titan Tower, and there was talk that they were going to bring Brock back, and Brock was going to do this program with Batista. So when it was announced, I know I'm backtracking a little here, that Vince was going to be on Raw to make a big announcement, everyone thought it was going to be the Brock announcement, but instead, Vince actually brings back Hardy, and it was like, okay, and Hardy's back, and we're all set, and all signs point to Edge and Hardy at SummerSlam in a match that, man, if there was a match that had so much hype and, the build was there and then just didn't deliver, this one gets lost in matches and stuff that when we talk about, like, wow, all that build and the match was a dud. This is right there, and it's a shame. The match happens, and Matt cracks his head open early, and I don't know if it's because I've never heard a straight story on this, but I've heard the Maryland Athletic State Commission might have gotten involved. WWE might have gotten involved because they got nervous about the cut on Hardy's head. Remember, this is pre-Benoit. This is 2005, so this isn't even about, like, oh my God, the Chris Benoit stuff, but the match is a dud. It gets stopped. And, I mean, the crowd is pissed. This was one of the matches that, people were gearing up for. Plus, it went on really early. It went on, like, second or third, I think. And it was like, really? So that was a little odd, the placement of it, considering everything. But then, I mean, they had a great Falls Count Anywhere match on Raw, which Hardy wins. And then they had a match at Unforgiven. No, I'm sorry. Hardy did not win the match on Raw. Neither one of them could get up. Then they had a match at Unforgiven, which Hardy won. Then they went to the Raw season premiere, I believe on Spike. And they had a match, loser leaves Raw. And Edge defeats Hardy in that match and sends Hardy to SmackDown. And to be fair, I mean, Hardy really didn't do much until probably 2007. He went almost 2 years of he was injured on and off, but, he did some stuff with Jeff and, they did a couple things here and there, but he really didn't do anything of value again until like 2007 when he started the feud with MVP, which was one of the better things, which carried into 2008. And then after that, I mean, Hardy kind of just floundered around until, there were talk of issues with substance and stuff like that, which I'm not going to get into. I mean, people have issues. It's, it's not something that needs to be vilified or anything like that. But Hardy floated around until he was let go from the company in 2010. As far as Edge goes, Edge came out of this pretty good. We all know the story about the world title, his world title runs, his feud with John Cena. But it's always been said that Edge's ceiling was limited because of this. Because, apparently this whole situation, which is ironic where it's coming from, was a cause of a lot of the dissension between him and Triple H. That Triple H felt that, which is, again, ironic, that Edge was a scumbag and a piece of shit person and was only going to let him go so far. And it was obvious. Edge had a couple of short runs in 2006 with the title, while Triple H was off doing other stuff. And then when they finally got on the same show together, SmackDown, you would think that feud, I don't want to say would have printed money, because I think that's a big statement to make, but the feud should have been a lot better than a quick squash match at the Great American Bash, which actually served as more of a backdrop for the Vicky Guerrero Edge, fallout at the time. Then, that could have been a solid feud that probably could have carried a Big Four pay-per-view and then a series of rematches after. But again, it is always said that Triple H has looked at the time. I know things have changed. I know Hunter's changed, Edge changed, everyone's atoned, whatever. But at the time, it's said that Triple H looked at that and was like, yeah, nah, fuck this guy. As far as Lita goes, Lita was gone from the company by the end of 2006, and she was sent off really shitty. She had lost the women's title to Mickie James, and then after that, they did a thing with Crime Time. I'm recording this on Friday, April 16th or 23rd. No, April 23rd. I'm sorry. I got my dates mixed up. Sorry. And a day after the Mickie James garbage bag incident, but that's pretty much how Lita was sent off with her gear in a segment with Crime Time. She's come back to the company. She's fine. Edge, we all know the story with Edge. Edge, has had a Hall of Fame career and has actually, come back and is being positioned very strongly. Him and Triple H, I guess, apparently have settled their differences. Matt Hardy left the company, floated around, returned, and is gone again. And I know everyone talks about the broken stuff, but I don't think Matt Hardy gets airlifted into any type of stardom if this doesn't happen. I think Matt Hardy ends up becoming the other Hardy Boy had this not happened. but now he's in AEW and, whatever, he's doing his thing. I think Matt Hardy, unfortunately, has been the biggest victim of the pandemic. But, it's a situation, and apparently they've all made peace with each other. They've all forgiven each other. Everybody's moved on. Edge is married to Beth Phoenix. Lita's been around. I know she was involved with CM Punk vaguely and a couple others. Matt is obviously married to Rebby Hardy. So, everyone's moved on and made their peace, but it was just such a weird set of circumstances that really was crazy. And there's a lot that's forgotten from that period of time. Like, you would think with the way the story should have went, Hardy should have eventually gone over Edge, but instead, no, it's Edge that wins. Edge keeps the girl, and Edge abolishes Hardy to SmackDown, which makes you wonder why they were really bringing Hardy back. Like, did they really feel Matt was done wrong? And hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with this, because at the end of the day, you're a company and you're trying to make money. Somebody saw money in this and was able to talk Vince into it. And that's fine as well. Thank you for listening to this episode of Kicking It Classic with JCD. Our next episode, which I'm going to try to get out in the next couple of days to catch up. Again, I feel like 2021 has just been a punch to the gut. As far as my personal life goes, and unfortunately I haven't been able to get the show going the way I wanted to, but we're going to get there just like we did with season 3. Our next episode is going to look at how close was Sting to going to WWE in 2011 and what was on the table. There's been a lot of talk of rumors and, who was going to do what and what Sting might have done had he jumped to the company at the time. So again, I am your host, John JCD DiMaselli. Thank you so much for listening. Oh, and I almost forgot. Breaking news here on the season premiere. A new show is going to be coming soon to this network. It's weird calling it a network, but that's what I'm trying to build it to be. While Kicking It Classic with JCD looks at past shows, stories, and angles, there's going to be a new show coming soon, and it's called JCD Takes On. And we're going to talk about current shows, events, news, stories, certain dynamics, certain demographics of the IWC and the wrestling fan base. And that's going to be coming soon. As soon as I can get that going off the ground, the two shows will be working hand in hand. So again, I am your host, John JCD DiMaselli, and we will catch you on the next episode of Kicking Classic with JCD. Sting to the WWE in 2011. What would that have looked like?